Yeah. Hi, Kathy.
Hi.
Kathy, are you running it today? Michael?
I am Martin.
Oh, Martin. Martin. How are
Yes,
you?
sir. I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, good.
You ready to go?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Welcome, everybody, to the Reflections on the 12 Steps. Just a friendly announcement. This is not an AA meeting. This is just one member's view on the exact nature of the wrong, as described on page 64 of the Big Book, and the solutions contained within. This is not an all-share meeting, though shares there will be, but actually a question and answer meeting with Paul. I picked a passage today from the Big Book on page 94, which speaks on step 10, page 94.
Yep.
Middle of the page starts with, but in other instances. But in other instances, only the closest scrutiny will reveal what our true
Hold
motives
on a
were.
second, Martin. Hold on. Page
Mhm.
94.
Yes.
I have a different book. All right. Go ahead.
I'm looking at online because I don't have the book with me. It's an online version, so it might be a little bit off. It says 94 here. It might be a different version.
Well,
Uh,
just follow what you say. I'll find
all
it.
right, good. Yeah. But another, it's about step 10. So, in any case, but in other instances, only the closest scrutiny will reveal what our true motives were. There are cases where our ancient enemy rationalization has stepped in and has justified conduct which was really wrong. The temptation here is to imagine that we had good motives and reasons when we really didn't. We constructively criticized someone who needed it when our real motive was to win a useless argument. Or the person who concerned not being present, we thought we were helping others to understand him, when in actuality our true motive was to feel superior by pulling him down. We sometimes hurt those we love because they need to be taught a lesson, when we really want to punish. We were depressed and complained we felt bad, when in fact we were mainly asking for sympathy and attention. This odd trait of mind and emotion, this perverse wish to hide a bad motive underneath a good one, permeates human affairs from top to bottom. This subtle and elusive kind of self-righteousness can underlie the smallest act or thought. Learning daily on the spot, learning daily to spot, admit, and correct these flaws is the essence of character building and good living. An honest regret for harms done, a genuine gratitude for blessings received, and a willingness to try for better things tomorrow will be the permanent assets we shall seek. Having so considered our day, not omitting to take due note of things well done, and having searched our hearts with neither fear nor favor, we can truly thank God for the blessings we have received and sleep in good conscience. I think this is actually from the 12 and 12, perhaps. I'm looking at it online. It might not be from the big book. It might be from the 12 and 12. But it's about step 10.
Yes. All right, great. Thank you. Yeah, now they're getting into it would be nice if everything could be seen as black and white. So there was an agreed upon good things that we could do and agreed upon bad things. But obviously, in the experience we're in, which is a subjective experience, which is it's being interpreted in the head, and so good and for and bad a lot of shit grows on both of those poles, so to speak. So he's getting into that where they first speak about it in the big book where they say the selfish driven character may be virtuous and kind, but they still have a selfish, self-centered view. Yes, they're trying to get something out of being virtuous and kind. And when they don't, then they usually get vindictive and angry. Yeah. So this is the underlying causes and conditions. It's a trippy thing because uh, people would like to have, all right, this is good, and then this is bad, and whatever I think or feel about it doesn't matter. But it's not the case. This is a subjective experience. So this is an interpretive experience. Yeah. So you and I can do the exact same thing, and it can be interpreted completely differently by the head. Yeah. And basically, when you stop doing that same thing, you don't leave with that exact same thing. You leave with an interpretation of it. Yeah. And like one of the first times that they touch it is in the preface, the forward, which is X and then I. But in the forward, it's a very important statement. It says, we of alcoholics are more than 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. So one of the definitions of seemingly, it appears to be true or false to you. This is a subjective experience. Yes. The thing that itself doesn't have a real nature of true or false. You give it the meaning it's going to have in your life. And you don't do that. The head does it. Yes. And fortunately, unfortunately, when the self-centered view is peppered with alcoholism, the traits of a person who is suffering from that takeover look very similar to another person who is suffering from that takeover. So they seem to be having the same thoughts, the same feelings, the same reactions, and basically the same interpretation of life from an alcoholic point of view. Yeah, this is a subjective experience. The problem resides in the mind. Yeah. So this is like in AA, they'll talk about it. It's a disease of perception. This is all about the interpretive experience. Yeah. When you were a kid running around, you didn't have an interpretive experience. Basically, you just ran into a room and then ran out of the room. You burped, you farted, that's it. Yeah. Then the head got developed, and everything you ever did after that was accompanied by thought. So the thought, the interpretation overwhelmed the experience. Yeah. That's why when we look at a young kid and babies, it triggers a longing because there they are. They're just in the present moment, flinging and doing this and doing that. We have crossed a line where the head is interpreting our life all day. Yeah. And many of us have can't even seem to be able to break the subscription to it. Yeah. The only thing we ever listened to was self-centeredness. And then we try to sort of limit its influence and maybe advance other influences, but in a weird way, you're like when you're in the water and you get caught in a tow. Yeah, you get caught in an eddy. It doesn't matter how much you swim, the swimming makes it even worse. Yeah. You just have to go to the side. You can't get out of it going this way or that way. You go this way. So this is what AA does. AA gives us this way to get out of it, not this way. Yeah. Because it changes our mind. Not so much its interpretation, but the power that's given to the interpretation by switching drivers in our life. Yeah. So here's self giving it the interpretation of the subjective experience. seeing resentments and fucking anxiety all day. And then, or there's the higher power, yes, driving how you see things. And maybe you have an ease and comfort. You feel like you're in good hands. Yeah. You can see that when other people make mistakes, you've made those mistakes, and on and on. Yes. So the change doesn't happen outside, it happens inside. But first, when the outside is dominant, you've got to do a lot of shit. But really, the underlying causes and conditions are not dealt with by doing. As you can see, the results when you get relief from the underlying causes and conditions, the problem doesn't exist for you. You're placed in a position of neutrality with no thought or effort on your part. Yes? You start just observing the change. You're not producing the change. Yeah? So this is one of the first beginnings of it. We are 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. That, if a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body is hopeless, that's an interpretation. Yes? Something is telling you what things are, and it's misinforming us. Yes? You get to the point that you're not going to change the theme or the underlying business plan of that radio station called K-Paul. You're not. You're going to lose interest in listening to K-Paul, and you're going to gain interest in listening to another station. You want to call it the infinite or whatever, or spirit nature or Buddha nature or whatever you want to call it. It's just not the head, so to speak. And what happens? How you see things changes. The things don't change, but how you see things change. Because the recovery is from the subjective domination of a self-centered view that has gotten so extreme, we looked for relief from it, and that actually compounded the problem. Yeah. So my first solution to alcoholism when I was a kid was alcohol. That's what I did. I was feeling really uncomfortable by the subjective interpretation. Yeah. It wasn't that I was uncomfortable in school. I was uncomfortable with what the head was doing with me when I was in school. Yeah. The head was just fucking going off. Yeah. So so the problem resides in the mind, and that's where the solution is applied. Yes. If you keep living as the driven and the driver, you're going to end up in a condition that you're going to seem to hate yourself. That's insane. Yeah. As the driven, that feeling of being the driven hates the driver. You think you're the driver and the driven. Yeah. But you're not the driver. You're compelled. Self imposes calamities on you. You make decisions based on self. You are driven up the wazoo. Yes. It uses you for transportation. Your giant uh, prize is you're going to feel right and alone, mostly. That's how you're going to end up. You're going to be super right about how wrong everything is, and you're going to be freaking alone with this, with the head. Oh, oh, oh. So if you don't understand a subjective experience, it's that what happens is interpreted from a lens. Yeah. And that lens tells you about what happened. Now, we didn't have it when we were super young. We grew into the brain, and the brain took over for many of us. Yeah. And now we have been led, our guide has been blind, and in following it, we have seemingly been blind. Yeah. Seemingly. Yeah. We still have the eyes to see. Yeah. And that's what happens. That possibility that we have the eyes to see is restored by the program of recovery. That's all. It weakens the domination of the self-centeredness, and the unsuspected inner resource becomes relied upon. Yeah. You're trusting the infinite rather than finite self. So now, and the effects will be felt as the driven. Yes. As the driven. Yeah. So people make the head makes hell a lot of the time. Yeah. You can have every sign that you're in heaven and you can actually be having an experience of being in hell. Yeah. The subjective experience is stronger than your objective reality because the reality isn't objective. Yeah. It's truly empty, and as they would say in Buddhism, and you and I give everything all the meaning it has. Yeah. And something is controlling the meaning you're giving things, and it's not you. Yeah. You're following an interpretation. You're not making the interpretation. You're following one. And for many of us, if we've gone down that route of extreme alcoholism, we're following the exact same interpretation, masked with the idea that it's uniquely Paul's or Marilyn's or Betty's. But if you finally get introduced to meetings and you sit there for a few weeks or for months, you're going to realize either these people got your, how did they get my thoughts, or they're not my thoughts. So many of us have been looking through the same subjective lens. Yeah. And it has been so bad, it brought us to certain conclusions that brought us to a program of recovery. And in that, we've recognized the commonality of what has defeated us. Yes. And it's not us. Yeah. Now, it can be such an extreme shift there. When you were listening to the head's interpretation, it was like CNN daily, yeah, with a lot of news flashes, headlines, little story. In my case, it's been amazing. It turned into Comedy Central. It still plays, but it's like a parody of itself, and it doesn't know it. It keeps talking as if it's running the show when it ain't running the show. Yeah. Something else greater than it has stepped in and has brought great relief to me. It has, extremely. And then that interpretation from the infinite has now interpreted the self-centered interpretation and made it a comedy show. Incredible. How unbelievable that is, I feel. Yeah. I haven't followed its extreme commands for 37 years, not because of any girding my loins, but a surrender, a recognition of what was going on, and an admittance of defeat. Yes. And just followed a few suggestions. The program of recovery brought a stable sobriety, and I was in the habit of being sober, and I still am. Yeah. I'm in the habit of I hear the head, but I don't listen to it. Yeah. I'm in a, and that habit is the best insurance policy I've ever run into. Seriously. And we're just here to share. That's it. I know some people, a lot, we start out as this is a real place, that's a real thing, that thing imposes its meaning on me, but you're going to see that it isn't really. Yeah, because you can be at the same situation and have a completely different experience than the other person that's at the same situation. Yeah. And when you leave the situation, you'll leave with the interpretation of it, not the situation. You will. So we are being led and directed by a subjective interpretation. Which one do you want? The interpretation of self-centeredness or the interpretation of something greater than self? Which one? You're going to listen to guidance, someone. Yes, you are. You're going to be moved by something. You're going to be driven by something. You're going to be brought by something to places. Yeah. The underlying statement in recovery is it's faith. Faith is really the moving force of everything here. And it matters where the faith is put in. If the faith is put into the head where the problem resides, you're going to get exactly that. An interpretation that leads you to fucking drink and use. If you go the other way by admitting the failure of the first way and start relying through the program on a higher power, whatever you want to call it, now the faith will be put in that basket and it will produce effects, and those effects will be much more beneficial to you and to others through you. Yeah. What do you want? It's a simple situation. Either you're leaning one way or another way. If you are leaning one way and you'd rather lean the other way, the program will lean you the other way. It will lean you into reliance on a higher power. That's what it does. Yeah. The head and the head alone is going to lean you into its own bondage. Yeah. And you'll be saying the third step prayer forever. Please, please relieve me from the bondage of self. Yeah. Yeah. So the other thing, they were getting into the 12 and 12 because I think that was 12 years after the book came out, and these people had been sober now for like 15 years. And of course, they were getting into the muck more. Yeah. And it said doing good things doesn't make you a good whatever. Yeah, you could have vile ideas in there and shit like that. So basically, the problem resides in the head, and the head is playing the role of the interpretation of the life. Now, what's running the head? It's the importance. Yeah. So just pound away at it, pound away at it, pound away at it. Yeah. This to me is the first knot. If you get relief there, it will trigger relief in the other knots in your life. It will. You'll travel lighter as a norm. Yeah. And what more would you want, really? Yeah. Yeah. So, any questions or anything?
So far, no hands up. Oh, we do have a question. John, I think, was first. Come on in, John.
What helped me was to articulate the distinction between resignation and acceptance. With my own subjective experience, I felt just like Roland, that I was living in hell, just like you stated. That brought me to resignation, that things would never change. It's a hopeless condition. And that, I think, is what Bill meant by hopelessness. Hopelessness, abject, spiritless.
Civility. Yeah.
And yeah, the distinction between resignation and acceptance is actually the presence of hope.
And that also grows. So, resignation can lead to a surrender, and then acceptance becomes much more frequent in your life. Yes. So you become accepting because of the resignation that was brought about and a surrender to the facts that there was a denial of. And now a lot of shit and a lot of situations that you did not find likable, you accept the situations as they are. Sometimes you're compelled to do something, so you do it. Sometimes you're compelled not to do something, and then you don't do it. And this is how you learn to face life successfully. Yeah. Obviously, we weren't facing life successfully if we were drinking all day or doing drugs all day. Yeah. That was not the solution. Yeah. So that brought a resignation. Yeah. To me, I've had a resignation, and a lot of times my willingness doesn't look enthusiastic. I'm just very clear that I'm fucked. Yeah. I wasn't like jumping for joy and, like pom-poms every day in AA, but I had enough soberness that when there was a lack of willingness, the soberness and the clarity that I was fucked allowed that bridge to be used until the willingness got a little excited. Yes, but a willingness doesn't have to look enthusiastic. It's just you've come to a sober assessment either has been dropped on you or you've come to it. And yeah, there you go. And then if it is a subjective experience, you have a role to play with it. Yeah, because you can put a better face on things. You can. Like instead of thinking, oh, this is never going to work out, you suspend your judgment and you give it time and you see that it does work out. Yeah. 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 So, yeah. I'm, uh, it's very, very important that the interpretive life is like uh, putting different colors on different things. Yeah. And in the self-centeredness, you'll see that everything that you paint has a big tinge of, let's say, yellow. And then you see the pattern of how self has defeated you. Yeah. How it throws yellow on every color that you could put on the event. I'm not using yellow as an example, not that it's yellow, but you'll see the patterns of the interpretation. Yes. And then well, right after you see the interpretations, there's the living. And over time, the living will be put before the interpretation. Yes? So that where you'll start will be conscious contact. You will not start at the mental interpretation. This is what, to me, is the spiritual awakening. And that this is what these steps do. They they uh, they produce a spiritual awakening where your starting point is the conscious contact, not the interpretation. Yes. And there's freedom before the interpretation. There's a lot of managing and controlling after the interpretation, but there's freedom before it. Yeah. Yeah. You know you're awake before your head starts telling you how asleep you are. It's just that simple. Yes. You know you're conscious when it's getting ready to tell you how unconscious you are. Yeah. The simple facts of what's actually living is overriding the interpretation of life by the head. This is the condition I believe the program brings us to. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but it's always going to work. Yeah. Yeah. Just stay with it. Anyone else? Oh, we got Pel Pele Siren. I guess I probably just macheted that name, whatever. And Kathy. Pick someone, Martin.
Go ahead, say something, Pele.
Oh, hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, cool. My name's Joseph. So maybe that's a little easier to say. Um, yeah, I've been listening to you for a little while. I mostly just wanted to say hello. Um, I think I had some questions, but they kind of have fallen apart. Um, I just wanted to introduce myself. I've been listening to you for the last few months, and I appreciate um, what you're saying. And uh, I guess maybe sometimes I don't know what's going on. I have some experience with AA and the 12 steps, and I have experience with going out, and now I'm having some experience with non-duality, and there are times where I'm very fearful, and I feel I'm going insane. And I had some question in there somewhere, uh, but
If
mostly I just wanted to introduce
if
myself.
you feel that, truly try to just do some service.
Hmm.
Just distract your head. It really works. Yeah. Instead of the great fire of 1812, you can put out all these little embers quite easily by taking the attention off of you and putting it somewhere else. Yes. So when someone says they're feeling like they're going insane and stuff like that, the self is imposing that idea on you. And the easiest way to get relief from it isn't to say there is no this or that. It's just to do service or go out, put the garbage out or something, or take the dog out. Yeah, it just
Yeah,
works. Yeah, it just works.
makes
These are
sense.
temporary little things. They're trying to re-trigger a feeling of the great fire of 1812, but there's just a little, it's a sputtering of something. It can easily be doused by service. Yeah. You'll get, you'll come back in 10 minutes and it looks like nothing was even going on. This is all the head. The head plays, it makes mountains out of molehills. Yes, this is a subjective event. A subjective event would be making mountains out of molehills. And people feel that statement because they've been witness to that. They have been witness to the head making mountains out of molehills tons of freaking times. And they have also observed that they started living as if those mountains were true. And they know exactly what happened and where that ended up. And they can't seem to stop taking the molehills as mountains. So basically, at that point, you want to do service. You do. You want to break that spell so that you can feel what it's actually like to be here, which is you're present and you're available. You are present. I am present. Present. Here now. Yeah? That is the condition that all other conditions start from. The condition that holds all other conditions, mental, physical, everything, is here now. Yeah. That is conscious contact. Here now. Bring it on. Things happen, noises, this and that, thoughts, bop, beep, physical ailments, all this. Yes. But the starting point is here now. Yeah. The head doesn't want you to start there. It wants to start you there and then. It wants to have you based in the past and project that past into a future. That's what it does. And where does it do it? And when does it do it? Here and now. Yeah. So that is not going to stop, but the interest that has been put in it will. The interest that represents you and I that has been addicted to going with that, that will be broken, and the interest and attention will linger in the here and now. And there's a huge difference than starting after the interpretation or starting before the interpretation, because an interpretation there will be. The head is going to interpret what's going on, but you can be before it or after it. And many of us know what it's like after it and are hopefully finding out what it's like before it. And if you've been finding out what it's like before it, you have the ability to share it with certainty for people who are just starting to have that experience of being before the interpretation. Yes? And there is an ease and comfort. There is a freedom from the bondage of self. There is. Because you're not self. Simple as that. Yeah. There is no freedom from being spirit because you are spirit. The head would love to be free from spirit. It would. It would, but it can't. Yeah. Because you are of spirit. So I'm trying to do this. Yeah. This is the point. I'm happy. Thank you for saying hello, bro. Yeah, we're all in this together. Yeah. Luckily, we're not all insane at the same time. Yes. And when you think your head is super crazy, I don't. Yeah. And we will stand with that clear recognition that you're not crazy. You can act like you are, you can believe you are, but you are truly not crazy. Yes. There's something before everything else, and it's not the head. There's something before the head, which is spirit. Yeah, let's call it that. Yeah. Conscious contact. Yeah. So, yeah, thank you. Nice to see you. And yeah, hopefully it's a lovely community. People care for each other here. We all know on one level or another that something has been going on, a lot of it unbeknownst to us. And a little knowledge of self goes a long way. Where self-knowledge is pointless in a sense, knowledge of self is quite valuable. Yeah. So if you're having a subjective experience, you ever see movies and then there's certain movies you see that you know the director of the movie? They have a certain quality, like Wes Anderson or other people. Yes. Uh, there's a number of ones I like. So when you're looking and you run into a movie, you know it's who directed it because they have such a way of directing, yeah, that it's recognizable. This is what it's like here. We're seemingly in a movie, yeah. Right now, some of us are living a life where the writers is self and the director is self. And it's the same fucking old, same old, yeah. And when you recognize another person who has that director, you know it. You know the person's an alcoholic pretty quickly, but they're probably going to be the last one to know it. That's amazing. Yeah. You can recognize it in 2 minutes. They're taking 30 years and still debating, am I or am I not? That's insane how subjective this experience is. Yeah. So you want to have a good director. And the higher power is fucking awesome. And there's millions of people that can tell you how amazing it has been in their life for their life to be directed by the higher power. Amazing. And it's much better than to be the constant star of every part of the movie as more of a character actor. Yeah. So, I mean, this movie is incredible because it took, uh, in this movie, there was another movie, a big interpretation of CNN, fucking terrible weather people, terrible news pundits, terrible opinion things. And instead of getting rid of it, it just turned it into The Daily Show. Yeah. It was just, it's just beautiful. What a beautiful way of using something completely different than something else, how it used it. Yeah. 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 So when self uses self-centeredness, wow, when the infinite uses self-centeredness, it can be incredible, literally. Yeah. All right. So we have Kathy. Come on in, Kathy. And then we have Mike next after that.
Thank you. I thought of something when you were talking that I remember my dad had this quote on it that he had printed out and put it on his computer, and it said, often wrong, but seldom in doubt. And I thought, to me now, that just tells me like how much I'm gonna fight for my subjective view. You
Yeah.
know, that's right.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I thought of was I heard it said once that we, and now I guess I would say the mind, are meaning making machines. You know,
Yes.
that we put meaning to everything. And if I can realize that, then I can make this means instead of this meaning.
Well, the thing is, Kathy, you and I give everything the meaning it has, but something is controlling that meaning giving. And it's in our view, it's either a self-centered or an infinite. Yeah. But
Uh-huh.
you're the conveyor or the giver of the meaning, but it's not coming from you. You're
Uh-huh.
being
Right.
directed. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the more important part is who or what's directing the meaning.
Okay.
Yes.
I get
Or
that.
giving the meaning to the meaning. Yeah.
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 Okay.
And we've had, I would say, probably long stretches of having a life given meaning by the self and have come to a conclusion. Uh, you could feel it in your own situation, but a conclusion we have probably come to. And perhaps there is a better way. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is
Mm-hmm.
key. And there is, and that is
Yeah.
to trust the finite rather than trust the infinite rather than finite self. That's it.
Yeah.
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 So
Thank you.
also, it's not your subjective experience. It's either the heads or the higher powers. Yes,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
directing it. And when it's self-centeredness, you think it's yours. Yes.
Right.
When it's spirit, it's a much larger recognition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, honey. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Let's go to Mike and somewhere. Mike Z.
Hey, Paul, thanks for carrying the message. I listened to you over the years, when I first listened to you, my mind completely went on tilt and I just I don't get it. It really put me on tilt, but over the years, I've really come up, get up to speed. I love that talk you gave on the fourth step when you talked about self defeated us and you pointed it out in the big book and you made that distinction that what is this self? What is this self that's defeated us? There's two different things going on here. And I've been listening to David Parrish on YouTube, and he quotes you off and on. And David Parrish talks about what we really are is awareness. That is our spiritual condition is awareness. And he talks about our personality or our ego is not even real. It's just something that and that's our human condition rather. Um, I just wanted to kind of touch base with you, but you mentioned movies. When I first saw Groundhog Day, it kind of struck me as like, man, this is spiritual
Yes.
because the guy starts out super selfish and then, he wants to kill himself and he can't die. And at the end, he's unselfish and trying to help others. And it just struck me as something it's a spiritual meaning to me. It's a movie that struck me as something spiritual. But I just wanted to, what's your take on awareness? Is that that's who we really are spiritually? We're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Well, the thing is,
Thanks.
you may find comfort in the word, but you don't have you can't comprehend awareness of spirit because it's completely far into the tools or the processes that we use to understand. Yes, we could only do what a hammer would do, which give the meaning to everything as being a nail. Yeah, so you could say awareness, but you don't. It's sort of like the fish saying water, even though it's completely in the water, it doesn't really get water. Yeah. Yeah. So they're
Yeah,
names. They're names and they can
that,
be,
that
yeah, but they can't replace they can't replace awareness or spirit. They're just words. Yeah. Yeah.
It's describing water, a fish describing water and saying, it's like that's delusional thinking, I guess. But
Yes.
uh,
Well, it's
he
in the
talks
water. Yes. Yes. And the
he's
same.
talking about meditation and just simply watching your breathing and get off of thinking, and there'll be gaps between your thinking, and bam, there's your awareness. He said, practice the meditation. I do a 10-minute quiet time in the morning, and then I try to do informal meditation off and on during the day. But he says the secret is meditation is to simply get quiet. And he said 30 minutes, whatever, and you have this gap, and you will have awareness kind of just like up here, and it's like the secret is not thinking. It's really just trying to get in that zone or gap, the awareness. And that's what I've been on lately. But I've really enjoyed your talks, Paul. And I think it really, when the big book talks about we're placed in a position of neutrality, safe and protected, I think we're in that zone where we are in awareness. And that's our spiritual essence, that we're, and I don't know. That's just how I take it right now. But thanks for sharing, though.
Yes. Yes. Well, the the great news is you can't be out of awareness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything you can be conscious of that or unconscious of that. But the fact is, awareness is the water that's watering all the while the fish is trying to give you its conception of water. Yeah. So, but whatever helps, whatever works, do it until things work for a point, because basically you're going to end up with I need do nothing, because you are already that which you're attempting to become or get close to or stabilize. So, and yet you do the things you do, and they play a role in leading you to the point that uh, I need do nothing in a sense. Yeah, because I am that which I'm looking for. What I'm trying to sort of change is what I'm not. And when you see you're not that, you lose interest in changing it. And then, yeah, it's all cool. But everything, whatever's working for you, let it work for you. Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
beautiful.
I just want to stay sober one day at a time, and it's like if my ego or my thinking has captured me, and I'm held hostage, it's like I'm doomed. So I think meditation, quiet time is
Yes,
and that's what the steps are for, to remove the blocks of fear, resentment, and selfishness, to where you can have this inspiration and guidance come to you, rather than the ego dictating, you know, uh, how to run life, I guess. But yeah, I really enjoy David Parrish. He quotes you off and on, and I've just wanted to touch base with you. Thanks again.
great. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. It's nice to be quoted, I guess. Yeah. I'm out to lunch with other people. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but yes, great. Anyone else? Nice to see you, Mike, again. Yeah, and Kathleen and Martin and everyone. But anyone else?
No other hands, no.
Oh, all right. Well, the idea of again, the fish describing what water is all the while being in water, that's really an example of us. Yes. Now, you would think that the fish would realize how wet it is, but if it's always been wet, it doesn't know. So, in a sense, we're always drenched in spirit, but the head doesn't know it. And of course, there's a leaning towards being the head, so we want to convince the head of it. And then after a while, you realize there's no need to convince the head of it. It's going to believe it can get wet. It doesn't believe it's water. Yeah. And so it just, it the thing that says it has requirements is the biggest imaginary requirement. Yeah. So you see that it's not you. And the be still is easily accessible because you're right here now and it's right here now. And there can be tons of thoughts going on in the here and now. But if you're below them, they're not affecting you. If they're yours and you're the what and you are that which the thoughts are about, you're going to be in a lot, you're going to have to swim through a patch of shark thoughts. But if you're underneath, you see them almost like bubbles, the thoughts. They're not affecting what's
Good, I
going.
like that.
Yeah, you forget about them completely. Most of the day, I don't come out of the day with one thought that I remember. It's just been like it's sort of it's sort of like you bought a house and you didn't realize it's next to a stream. And then you may not like this constant sound of the stream, but there you are. So the thoughts are like a stream going over some rocks, and it basically you can super pay attention to it or you cannot pay attention to it and it becomes the background. Just like people who live off the highway, yeah, after a while, it's annoying as hell unless you have two pain things. But after a while, it sounds like a background, you know, like the roar of the ocean. So yeah, yeah. The thoughts are given power by the word my. Yeah, the owning of the thoughts allows you to be owned by thoughts. Yeah. It's just the way it moves. Most stuff here is moving in a dualistic manner. So you own something, it owns you, so to speak. That's what happens. Yeah. Yeah. Now, do you want to, learn how to stop owning it? No, just see you're not that which owns it. Yeah. I don't like the secondary statement. It's an order, another order. All right. All you got to do is stop doing that. I don't see that works. Just like when normies would tell me, oh, why don't you just stop? Yeah. Oh, wow. I haven't heard that one before. Thank you. Yeah. I think I will. Yeah. No. So what's happened with me is when I got into spirituality, I ran into orders, but they were more subtle, but they were still orders, and there was still something that was being called to arms, and it would say, yeah, this condition is available if you stop thinking, or this condition, and that's a fucking requirement. Yeah. And then I finally realized that just like I realized it's the same gradation. When I first heard you got to quit playing God in AA, yeah, I felt like I was that which was playing God. So, all right, I got to quit playing God. So I set out to quit playing God. And very quickly I realized I can't seem to stop playing God. Yeah. So what's the answer? Well, maybe that which is playing God isn't you. What? Yeah. And so quitting playing God wouldn't mean the playing God was going to stop. It was going to continue, but you would lose interest in it because it's not you. And that's exactly how it happened. Yeah. So that got me past the second day wall of subtle requirements that are in spirituality. And when I hear something like, yeah, this can be the case if you stop doing that. I just see I'm not the one that needs to stop doing it, or I'm not the one that needs to start doing something. I just not. Yeah. And that has really worked and it's stabilized over the years. And that's sort of when my ball bounces, that's what it hits when it goes, it bounces there
I like that.
and it just, yeah, and the game continues. It seems to work. It doesn't come back at me 100 miles per hour. It's lost some oomph. And I just believe you're not that which is thinking or doing or anything. I really do. If you are awareness, I haven't seen any awareness with legs on it. I haven't. I don't see it with arms. I don't see it's got a tool belt with hammers and things. It's a space. It's a space brilliantly lit up. Yes. So there's no doing there. And so yeah, that's why I love the solution on page 84. You will be placed in a position of neutrality with no thought or effort on your part. Yes, yes. The whole program to me is you get changed and then you observe the change. You do not do any of it. Yeah. You get changed and you observe the change and then you realize what's getting changed ain't you. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Awesome, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. So there, that's how I see it at the moment. All right. Hey, anyone else?
Yes, we have Catherine.
Catherine Fox, come on in. No, you're in already. What's going on?
Yeah, yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think this space is kind of lit up and yeah, that saying of, you can tell an alcoholic, but you can't tell them much. You know, it's a good one, following on from what you were saying, you can tell an alcoholic, but you can't tell them much. And you're often quoted, Paul. I know you don't hang out in maybe the circles of the internet, non-dual speakers, or I don't know, but you are just such a gift because, you put into words with such humor, with such, I don't know, there's a kind of force field. There's a force field here, and I think you set the tone for that. And yeah, I said it, I think the last time I spoke, you know, and I feel slightly, and is it embarrassed? No, it's not embarrassed, maybe just a bit open, when people say, have you got a sponsor? And I say, yeah, I've got this guy, Paul H. you know, um, so and I really get that, the thought. I can't remember what I've been thinking about today, apart from, maybe the practical things. And I don't know, yeah, I, I, I don't know how to really express it. But I remember you once saying about the head, it's like a radio show, you can hear it, but you don't need to listen to it. I quote that all the fucking time. Hear it because it's the nature of the beast. It's tuned in. It's going to run with whatever it runs with, but you don't have to listen to it.
Yes.
That was a real powerful way of framing that. So I'm just here as, as a sponsee or whatever. I'm checking in with my sponsor in this wonderful satsang, this wonderful environment. And yeah,
Great.
just
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, the idea of and you're not the one uh that sees the difference. It's brought to you. By doing what we do, you get changed. And one of the aspects of getting changed, that which you used to listen to with great devotion, you now hear. Yeah.
Mm,
Yes?
yeah.
That's an effect. I did not set out on a course to do that. That would be listening to the thing I want to only hear. Yeah, I did what we do, stayed open when things were available. Stuff came through, found I was in different conditions, and then observed that, and then shared about it. Yeah, well, so because I think it's a misdirected hope that you're gonna be in a like the radio, K-Paul is going to go silent. I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah. I think the programming goes, it's with, as long as the body is alive, the program is going. Yes. And you're going to be, and you were born with this subscription to K-Paul. Yeah. Or K-Mike or K-Catherine. And you're paid up, and then it's going to, but in the movement of life, you can move from a devoted follower, which would be abject civility, like spiritless civility, into actually having that news station turn into a comedy satire, which is fucking awesome to me. I think that's great. So when I'm hearing I wish I could describe it. It would take a while to paint it, but it's a very nice way to go with it because it was very profoundly dramatic and important in the past. And it was nice to get it lit up, lightened up. It couldn't do it on its own, but the audience, by its looking at the show, because the show doesn't get the joke. It's like, do you ever see the Colbert Show with a guy named Stephen Colbert? He was like a crazy new, newscaster or something. He had a podcast, and he never was off character. He was he was every second he was on it, but and obviously Stephen Colbert was playing it as a role, but it was so great. It was so funny in a way, and actually a lot of news came through with it. Yeah. And he never broke character. But again, Stephen Colbert knew he wasn't that character. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, the head has presented an actor called let's say the alcoholic straw man, and we've lost ourselves as the actor. We're living and we want to unstraw the straw man. It's just, no, just, uh, yeah. The greatest relief from the actor is seeing you're not the actor. Yeah. And getting established in that. And then the actor will act away. But instead of on a giant Broadway stage, it will be way, way, way off Broadway. Yeah, so it was nice to see you, Catherine. As your sponsor, I say you seem to be in very good condition. Yeah. Continue not to take yourself so seriously, and so shall I. Anyone else? Oh, we have Mike is coming back in for round two. All right, we got to end after that soon. All right, Mike.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. There's a quote in the big book. It says, "We deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, and powerful. Without help, but it's too much for us." I'm an alcoholic. I have this phenomenon of craving when I put alcohol in my body. I understand that. But I'm thinking to myself, a fifth of whiskey on the table, it's cunning and baffling and powerful. How can a inanimate object, a fifth of whiskey, be cunning and baffling?
Well, it
That's
is
got
alcoholism.
Yeah, alcohol to me physically
Alcoholism. It's not the alcohol. They made a mistake in the book, really.
I guess my take on it is that that's code for ego or the false self or the thinking or it's like you said, that parasite has captured us. But yeah, it just kind of struck me funny. It's like alcohol is cunning and baffling. No, that it's a fifth of whiskey on the table.
Well, yeah.
You know, yeah, it's what the parasite made me pick it up, you know.
Well, the thing is, the parasite has us convinced that it's one or something, but it hasn't. Yeah. The parasite
Yeah,
talks as if it's us. So it tells us about it, and we think it's talking about us. Yeah. So
yeah,
when it says, I'm afraid, it's telling the truth, but then you take it as you're afraid. Yeah.
yeah.
And this is why it doesn't get that resentments aren't its, because resentments are its. The parasite is what's producing the view that causes the resentment or that idea of something that happened to you being revisited. So when the head says, these are my resentments, the head is telling the truth. You're not the fucking head. These are the head's resentments, definitely. So when it goes, my fear, my resentments, yes, they are. That is the truth. But we hear it as, and then we take on the mindness of that. This is the bondage of self. The self is bound by its own view. Yeah, we're under that
Mhm.
bondage because we're taking its view as our view. Yeah, that's what's going on. It says my resentment, and it is the truth. But then we live it as if it's our resentment, and that is not the truth. Yeah. That which is speaking in your head is not you. It comes from its own imaginary origin, and it is a mental activity. It is it's a mental activity that uses all the other mental processes to support its activity, which is selfing. Yeah. So it sees life from a long-lasting, independent, separate view. It's scared shit. It feels like it's threatened constantly. Yeah. It has grievances from the past because it hasn't delivered the goods and it needs to have rationales for that or excuses or blames. And when it keeps vomiting its fucking views, we take it to be our views. This is the bondage of self. Yes. We just had it. The head tells me I'm fucked. That's not you. That's the head telling you you're fucked. Yes? Because it's fucked completely. It's a parasite that doesn't want to be a parasite, but it doesn't have a life. So it has to have ours. So it sucks us dry, gives us an interpretation, and sometimes it's incredibly truthful how fucked up it is, and yet you walk away with it how fucked up you are. We are taking its manifestations, its characteristics, its condition as our condition. This is a huge mistake. Yes. And
Mhm.
we're trying to get out of its condition to get our condition better. No, you see it as its condition is going to make your condition much better. When you see it as its condition and you don't see it as your condition has the possibility of getting much fucking better. Its conditions aren't. Yes? Because the parasite is a parasite, is a parasite, is a parasite. It's not turning into a service animal. It's not going to be this or that. It's parasitical in nature. Yes?
Yeah,
That's it. Know that it's programming and it's not AI. It's not growing into a great higher state. It's just going to keep doing the same old, rotating the same grievances, the thoughts, the feelings, the false hopes, and stuff like that. Hey, you never got the gold ring. Get off the carousel. Yes?
yeah.
You're not, you're taking yourself to be the horse that cannot get off the carousel. If you see you're not that horse, you can get off the carousel. You're never getting off as the horse. Never. It's got a big fucking pole through it. It's
Thanks
stuck.
for the reminder. Yeah, you're spot on. You're spot on. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah.
Yes. All right. All right. So let's I think we're ending now. Yeah. Yes. We have a person. It's just person comes in, goes, I'm afraid. Are you really? Or you're just listening to the head saying the truth about itself? I'm afraid. It's the second, I'm telling you. You are a very vague idea going on. Yes. Uh, yeah. Put in the right hands. Your even your mundane, very unspectacular can it's like a piece of virtuosity. Yes. Your life can be exquisite on a small level by the director of the higher power. It can. It can take all of your defaults and its defaults and put it to better use. It has a vision that the actor cannot capture, but the actor can play it out. It can. Just fucking follow the dictates of the right director, and the movie's gonna go pretty well. You'll travel lighter through it. Yeah, if it's a tragedy, it will be a tragedy, but you'll travel lighter through it. If it's a mixed up of stuff, it'll be a mixed up of stuff, but you'll be traveling lighter through it. Yes. Yeah. And you'll have so many exquisite moments and vignettes, all forgotten, but never really forgotten. Yeah. Just on and on. And yeah. Yep. All right. Thanks, guys. I'm gonna say goodbye. John K, as always. Mike, thank you for dropping in again. Say hello to
Thank,
Paris for me.
thanks, Paul.
I don't know who he is, but I tell him I said hello.
Yeah, David Parrish. He really is something. Yeah, about awareness and meditation.
Great. All right, John K, as always. Nice to see you, brother. Kathy, fantastic. I like that little thing here, Kathy. Yes, yeah. I like this little, yeah, that's good. Oh, we could do a Zoom mirror. That would be good, eh? Martin, thank you. Thank you for the starting point. If you read the 12 and 12, it has a different feel than the big book. I truly believe the big book was a download. And then he was describing the effects of that download over a 15-year period or something, which is awesome, right? Yeah. Yeah. Rico, nice to see you, my friend. Jesse, she's living the lap of luxury. Mr. Florida, John, nice to see you, John. Chris B, holding the fort. Joseph in France. John B in the UK. Glastonbury. We're hoping one day to go there. Linda, Marilyn in Tallahassee. Vlad, as always. Catherine Fox, one of my many unknown sponsees. That's great. Thank you for informing me. Another Maryland. Walter. Always a pleasure, Walter. Bridget Luckenbill. Nice to see you, Bridget. You doing okay? Oh, yeah, great. Fantastic. Nina, nice to see you. You got a different background. I know you're not there live.
Like it? Do you like it?
Very nice, yes.
Thank you.
Looks like the Northwest, the Oregon forests. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, had to change it up.
Yeah, it's very nice. Tom Lizoda. Nice to see you, Tom. Roman Mueller. Mr. Roman Mueller. Travis. Nice to see you, brother. Greg. Hey, our friend in Minneapolis. Nice to see you, Greg. Robert Crossman. There you are. I think it's just a picture of him. He's not responding. Someone give him CPR. Robert's not responding in the Zoom. All right. Hey, I think, oh, there's more. No, I think that's it. Hey, thanks, Marilyn and everybody. It's always a pleasure. Yeah, remember, it ever comes to the point, the alcoholic, the recovered alcoholic calls you before they drink. Yeah. The alcoholic calls you after they drink. Yeah. It's a huge difference. So, yep. Thank you. We're here today at 4:30 Pacific time. Such a pleasure. This is like an oxygen tank. It's nice. Yeah. Come in, get some rarefied oxygen, rich oxygen, a loving presence expressing itself in our group conscience. Ah, yes.